Hey, truth seekers, welcome back. Zach here. Yesterday, a fellow subscriber messaged me and asked if this were a real news story. Did a 9-year-old boy named Jackson Grubb really commit suicide by hanging themselves? If you missed this story, it's been in the headlines the last couple days. Before I answer that question, I want to talk about something more important, and that is what is going on with many children in the United States of America today. And that is, these children are not getting a fair opportunity at life in this world. I was born in 1983, not all that long ago. I was fortunate to grow up in a time where children were still allowed to play outside. Not far from where I grew up, there was a park where a lot of my best childhood memories were made. Playing sports with other kids, tag, capture the flag, all the things that children do. Still have a lot of memories from back then from interacting with other children. And for more than 10 years, that same park, anytime I've driven by it when I'm visiting my mother, it's been vacant. You never see a child there anymore. It's almost as if children are extinct. And the reason this is so is because parents have been terrified by this same mainstream media that if they let their children play outside, it's dangerous, it's not responsible, their child might end up being the next Amber Alert. So instead, parents, being frightened, they keep their children indoors, in front of the TV, being programmed by the television. And the stuff they're putting on TV that's said to be for children these days is more and more adult. You know, the content is more mature at an earlier age. So a lot of children are learning about suicide and these negative things that adults have to deal with at a younger age. So here's children. They're not getting the opportunity to play with other children. And if you study human health and behavior, there's so much research on this. It's undeniable. The people who grow up in this world and have the most problem with others, who become the violent criminals, the killers in society, overwhelmingly, they're the people who were shunned from other children, who didn't have a chance to play with other kids. And that's because it's such a vital building block of growing up, learning to work with others, to get along, to have fun together, to settle disputes. When you miss out on these things as a child, it messes up your development, and it messes up your self-esteem and your sense of being. So we have all these children growing up in this nation that are living a life that is not right for us as human beings. And then the media at the same time, they give stories like this and look at this, now a 9-year-old hanging himself. When was the last time you heard about that? The thing is, what the mainstream media presents is normally bogus bullshit, but at the same time, the stories they give us, they have hints of truth. And I suspect that if you look at child suicide, say age 12 and younger, in the last 5 years or the last 10 years in comparison with 20 years before that, I bet you there's a major spike. And it's directly correlated with children not getting the opportunity to play with other kids, being raised by the television. If you're someone who realizes that children are our future, then you know what we have to do. We, the sane people, have to take the power back from the tyrants, which means we need to remove the tyrants from the media who program the parents with the fear that keeps their children parked in front of the television. So to answer the question that this viewer posed to me, is this a real story? As always, the gematria reveals the truth. The name Jackson Grubb, that name sounds a bit suspicious. There's probably even a subliminal in there with the name Michael Jackson and children and all that programming that the masses got. These same parents who are procreating and so scared to let their children go outside, they're probably the same ones who believe all the lies about Michael Jackson. But anyhow, Jackson Grubb, gematria 42, just like the word boy, just like the age 9, just like the word TV, just like the word Freemason, like Zionism, who controls your TV, who gives us this propaganda by the numbers. The name Jackson Grubb the Big Way, also 123 like conspiracy. And the mainstream article I read about his death, in that same article they talked about how in the same week there was a story about a 13-year-old girl who committed suicide because her parents kept telling her she was too fat. With that point, there's a lot of people who are having children that really shouldn't have any children, and I think part of the reason they give the masses these stories is for those parents who might be bullying their own children to have them think twice. Should they be calling their child too fat when it's them in the first place that's making them live in front of the television and not letting them play outside? But learn your gematria. Gematria, it usually tells the truth. Jackson Grubb also sums to the same thing as hanging. Supposedly he hung himself, died from hanging. 9, boy, Jackson Grubb, hanging. Numbers we always see. And don't forget the TV's 42. That's the Freemasons' biggest weapon. And that is what I want people to understand. The TV, it really is the root of a lot of problems in this world. And if this boy really did commit suicide, it's for all the reasons we talked about. Until next time, true